I'm Alicia Perez. I'm a Sister Faithful Companion of Jesus and work now at Manchester University's Catholic Chaplaincy as one of the chaplains there, working with the Jesuits, which is really a great place to be. I'm from Spain and I grew up there in a Catholic family. We always went to Catholic schools. My parents took us to Mass every Sunday. And I got to university to study computer science at the Polytechnic University of Madrid. When I finished my studies, I applied and received a scholarship to get a PhD and moved to the USA to go to Carnegie Mellon. At the time, this was around 1988, at Carnegie Mellon there were robots on the corridors. They were involved in a project of the robots that went to explore Mars. So it was really a very special place to be. I started to work on my PhD in my specialty is artificial intelligence. And one of the things that was quite important to me was to get away from things that were known and experience people from many different cultures, people with different religions, with different ideas, different sexual orientations. So it was really opening my mind in many ways. Also, it was the time of the first internet chat rooms, and there were many debates or discussions in these chat rooms about whether you can believe in God and be a scientist. And also for us working in artificial intelligence, the idea that if a brain of the brain is a machine, which could be thought about one of the foundations of artificial intelligence, although it's not, then there was not much room for the spirit. So many people participated in these debates online, among us, mostly students and some faculty, but people were quite private about their faith. So what I started to see is that people I respected and admired because of their values, because they were, very excellent people in their work, teaching and research, but yet they didn't believe in God. That made me question what I really believed. Did I believe in God because I grew up in Spain as part of my culture, or it was some kind of personal choice? That was a little bit of a dark time for me, but in the end I decided very intellectually to develop my faith more, that I did believe in God, and I started to attend the Catholic chaplaincy, which was very intellectual at the time, but it suited me because what I felt was that my faith was from my teenage years, while my intellect had developed to be at one of the top research universities. So I started to get involved in the chaplaincy, again, as I said, very intellectual kind of content and encounters. But one Lent I decided to go to Mass every day, and that gave me daily space of quiet and reflection. Then I started to pray more. Someone invited me to a retreat, and there I had a very powerful experience in a guided meditation of meeting Jesus and finding that Jesus was waiting for me and that he wanted to be with me. That was really mind-blowing because before that, God for me had been abstract, more like an idea. So that was quite moving, and I continued praying more and had a spiritual director, and eventually realized that God may be calling me to religious life. At the time, one of my friends gave me a Life of St. Ignatius, and I remember thinking when I read that book, this is what I want. Now I have no idea what I read or why this idea came to my mind, but it was quite clear that that was also an invitation for me, Ignatian spirituality. And then I met one of our sisters, Faithful Companion of Jesus, and asked her, do you know what the spiritual exercises are? Because really they are something very powerful according to this book, but I can't really grasp what they do. So there started a sort of friendship and mentoring. Both of us were finishing our PhDs. And eventually when I graduated, I entered my congregation. My first teaching position was at Boston College. And it was funny because when I went there for an interview, the head of the computer science department was a Jesuit, Michael McFarland, who actually got his PhD in computer engineering also from Carnegie Mellon. So that was a lovely connection. And part of my experience of being at Boston College teaching computer science was the interaction with some of the Jesuits, grappling also with the questions about believing God or faith and science, or also what is the purpose of being at the very elitist university versus working, for example, with the poor? How are we really making an impact? So we didn't really have answers, but we were more grappling with the questions. And for me, that was a very formative time as well. I was also involved a little bit in the chaplaincy. I went to the School of the Americas for demonstrations, so it was really a lovely time. And then, as part of my novitiate, I made a 30-day retreat, and praying with the Jesuits who were killed in El Salvador, many of them from Spain, or most of them from Spain, had a big impact on me, and a desire of live among people who are poor. Another part of my novitiate was working with undocumented immigrants from Central America mostly, and really becoming friends. So there was a lot of companionship there, and I learned a lot as well. Well, with all of that, eventually I was sent to Argentina, and I spent there 14 years. That was around year 2001 that I went. And in Argentina, we lived in a very poor neighborhood, and at the same time I was teaching at the university. So for me, having one foot in the barrio and one foot in the university was actually quite helpful and very grounding. And there, while I was doing research and mentoring the students in their last years, and then that's it. I was called to tertianship in London a couple of years ago, and after that I was sent to be a chaplain at Manchester University with the Jesuits.